When did the Comics Code Authority come into being? Was that early in your run at Timely, or was it when you were?
Oh no, it was with Marvel.
And what was that about? Why did they need it?
Wait a minute, I'm not sure. I have such a bad. I was serious about my memory. I don't remember the date. I think it might have been when we had the superhero stories. I think it came into being because some psychiatrist named Frederick Wertham decided that all the ills of mankind were caused by comic books. And he wrote a book called Seduction of the Innocent, in which he pretty much said that. And somehow the book got into Congress, and they had a hearing, and they were about to censor all the comic books or outlaw them, or it was a big thing. And the comic book publishers got together, and they formed a self-regulatory, self-censorship group called the Comic Book Association of America. And somehow or other they got away with it. It hurt a lot of people. Not DC, but EC Comics, which used to publish The Vault of Horror, The Crypt of Terror, Frontline Combat, and books like that, they practically went out of business because their books were wonderful. They were brilliant, but they were very rough. And they ended up just doing Mad Magazine, which was okay because that made a fortune. But again, I don't remember the date.
And what were the, like when they came up with the self-regulation, what was the idea? Like what was something that wouldn't make a comic book anymore?
We weren't supposed to be overly sexy or overly violent. I got to tell you what I think is a funny story about that. I had done a book called Kid Colt Outlaw, a Western book. And one of the pages was thrown back at us. And I want to tell you why it was thrown back. I had Jack Keller was the artist, and he drew Kid Colt shooting a gun. But you didn't see Kid Colt. It was a close-up of his hand. Think of this as the panel, and here's his hand, and this is the gun. He's holding the gun, and there's a big puff of smoke coming from the barrel and a line indicating the trajectory of the bullet. That's all you saw in the panel. The hand, the gun, the puff of smoke, and the line. And the page was sent back. This was panel 3, let's say. And the criticism was, panel 3 is too violent. So I called whoever was the supervisor of the code at that time, and I said, why is panel 3 too violent? And the answer I got was, the puff of smoke is too big. I swear to God. So, being the creative person I am, I got some white paint and I whited out that puff of smoke, and I did a little puff of smoke and a line, and it was accepted. And that was an example, that's an example of the wisdom and perception of those people who ran the comic book code. But it's meaningless. I don't even think they're in existence anymore. Can you imagine this guy, the way he talks and writes with a comic code? Oh, I wish I could be there.
The puff of smoke they'd kick back to me would be a fart illustration. And I'd white it out and make it smaller. Or make it a shart.